I'm Leonard Elijah.
And I'm Amir Araghi.
And we are
the Conscious Cup Podcast.
Just as many of us drink our coffee to get through our day, the Conscious Cup Podcast is about filling your soul with the guiding light of energy to navigate you through your week. And on today's show, we'll be talking about the Rhinoceros Sutra and Solitude. We'll also go through the grind where we talk about the upcoming events in the spiritual community. Then to filling your cup, where we get to the main subject of the week, Solitude and the Rhinoceros Sutta, and to what's brewing, a peek into the current state of global consciousness. And wow, we have not only a small peek, but kind of a full show.
Jam-packed, that one.
And finally, to spill the beans, where we discuss our weekly spiritual task that involves both you and us, and our reflections on them, and so on and so forth.
Yes.
And we are here. We ask you, what are you filling your spiritual cup with? See, I tried to throw him off with all that, but you can't throw Amir off.
When you're in the vibe, baby, you're right in the wave.
He's flowing.
Ravon, Buddha.
He's just like the wind.
Yeah.
Well, welcome back. Welcome back.
Welcome back. How was the week?
The week is moving quite quickly, huh?
It is incredible how quickly things are moving. We are halfway about through summer-ish or so, but it's amazing. It's amazing. This whole year.
There's so much happening. I think we're collapsing time frames very quickly. Yeah, well, I'm happy that you're here.
Vice versa.
Appreciate you being here with us. I appreciate you being here with us. Thank you for coming on board and listening to us. Please subscribe, like, and share if you haven't already. We appreciate you. We're grateful for you. We wish you and all the best.
Yes.
And let's get into it. Let's get into the first segment of the show, which is the grind.
The grind. We got some cool events.
We do. You want to start or shall I?
Sure. There is a really cool thing I have not heard about before, but it looks very, very interesting. It's called the Full Moon Masterclass and Divine Meditations Around a Sacred Fire. Very long title, but it sounds really, really cool. This is coming up at the next full moon, which is September 28th. It's a Thursday night. They essentially go through a level of meditation, kind of a guided meditation, using and incorporating the energy of the full moon. And then you essentially they light this big fire, and you go through it together. But it should be very, very interesting, and it's actually 3 hours long.
Wow!
So it sounds like you get pretty intensely into it. However, they want to go. So the first part of it, first hour or so, is a little bit of a discussion, kind of a class, and then they have a small little break, and then it's a group meditation for an hour and a half.
That's not
around
bad
the fire.
at all.
So
hour and a half group meditation is that's legit.
Really interesting. Yeah, really, really interesting. The location is in Culver City. There's a couple different levels of tickets that are available there. I'll let you guys kind of go through it. It is on Eventbrite, actually. It is, again, happening.
Lots of stuff on Eventbrite.
Yes, Eventbrite is actually really cool. If you're just looking even for small stuff, like you want to just connect that night, that day, there's a lot of events that are going on there.
Eventbrite.com. Eventbrite, BRITE.com.
Yes, not GHD. So tickets are $25 to $55, and it should be really cool. I unfortunately cannot go myself because my classes have started by then, but it sounds like an amazing event. That's one of the events going on. What do you got?
So I have something that I want to ask Amir to go with me to, and everyone, of course, is welcome. It's not my event or anyone we know, but it's called an Afternoon of Sacred Spiritual Music. An Afternoon of Sacred Spiritual Music from $25 to $35, happening on Sunday, August 27th, from 1 to 6, by UCLA, 1100 Grace Lane. I looked at the map. It's by UCLA. It's by the Getty, actually. It's by the Getty.
Getty Center,
yes,
not Villa.
Not Villa. Getty, okay. Around the Getty area. And again, an Afternoon of Sacred and Spiritual Music, $25 to $35.
Nice.
There's going to be arrival food served, opening meditation. There's going to be Hindustani Indian classical vocals with sarangi and tablas. There's going to be socialization and stretch break. There's going to be a mixed set of sacred and conscious music, another socialization and stretch break, another person coming to play spiritual
Wow.
songs with the harp. Then there's going to be
Ooh.
ukulele music, group chanting as well, and then closing meditation and more socialization. So it sounds like a really
Wow.
nice thing. And they even have a video of some people that have performed these kind of things. They say bring hats, sunglasses, sunscreen. Also bring a yoga mat, cushions to sit on if you'd like.
Is it a daytime thing?
It's a daytime thing, 1 to 6 in the afternoon.
Oh, how interesting.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't know why I immediately thought it was a nighttime thing.
so we have group. There's multiple artists going to be playing music. There's
Wow.
chanting. There's healthy Himalayan food. There's community, spiritual community bonding. There's relaxing in nature. This sounds like a wonderful way to spend Sunday. I think that all of us will feel
I'm down.
rejuvenated.
Sunday or Saturday?
Sunday, August 27th. Amir is just,
Okay.
he's at nighttime. He's the day before. He's the day after. Where are
Tomorrow.
you?
Well, look, we started with spending time, right? It's going all over. Hearing different things, making it happen.
I'm
up
not
and
trying
down,
to give
left
you a
and
hard
right.
time. I'm just kidding. He's just trying to get out of going. I think that's the problem.
No, that actually sounds really cool. After
I
book
think it
club,
sounds
1
great.
p.m.
Yeah, 1 to
works.
6.
Yeah, that works. I like
All right,
it.
we'll see. Okay.
All right, very cool. I got one last one. This one also sounds really interesting. Unfortunately, again, this is literally the night my classes start, so not going to be able to go, but it's called Release and Re-Inspire Breathwork at Mastery. Very, very cool. This is actually also in Westwood. This is on Westwood Boulevard. It's led by Liz Sanders. She is doing, very briefly, a therapeutic breathwork journey to release stress, suppressed emotions, and trauma so that you feel re-inspired. And I like the word inspire or inspiration because it literally breaks down to in spirit. So you go back into the flow, you go back into the spirit. And I am a big, big advocate of breath work. I do think it really reignites the body and gets this vehicle to work as the Lamborghini that it's supposed to be, as opposed to a Fred Flintstone car with broken tires and
Yabba dabba doo.
yeah. Love Fred Flintstone. So this event is really cool. Sounds really, really good. Again, I would have definitely gone. I am interested in going to the one with you. That actually sounds awesome. This one is Monday, September 18th from 6 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. It is occurring at the Mastery Inner Beauty Collective. Really cool name, right? Mastery Inner Beauty Collective at 1746 Westwood Boulevard.
It's just an hour and a half.
Yeah, quick, but should be really, really good. Breathwork is amazing. If you haven't done it, definitely do it. I'm going to put it out in the universe. We're going to do another sound bath and breathwork for sure with what I consider the master, Guy Douglas, the Gong Guy.
Guy is great.
Yes, Guy
Great
is
guy.
amazing.
Great
Amazing.
guy.
Great guy. Guy is a great guy. So that is it. That is the grind. I'm excited. We're going to filling your cup, and the only thing Leonard told me as we were talking, he said rhinoceros. I said what? So that's the topic.
I like to surprise.
Yes, we do. By the way, even the events we don't know what we're talking about. So as I'm doing it, Leonard's hearing it for the first time, and vice versa.
Yes. So today's main topic is going to be on the Rhinoceros Sutta, which is a Buddhist Pali text called Kagavisana Sutta, which literally means rhinoceros horn, or the Rhinoceros Sutra, is one of the earliest and most authentic expressions of the original Buddhist thought. So that's why I chose it, because it commands such a respect from the Buddhist folks. It's one of the earliest and most authentic expressions of original Buddhist thought. Because the Asian rhinoceros only has one horn, and because the lore attributed to its life alone in the forest, the sutta is aptly titled to present what the translator calls an essay on the value of living with solidarity and solitary wandering life.
Bringing the complexity into singularity. Solitude.
Specifically, this would refer to the life of the forest monk of Southeast Asia. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to read parts of the sutta. I'm not going to read the entire sutta. It's not long, but I've cut down to about, I'd say 30-40% of it. Nice. I'm going to read, but I want you to think about these things as I read them. Okay. You and the listeners, okay? So you're
Question before you start.
Yes.
What is a sutta?
A sutta is just a text. Let's say
Text.
it's just a text. Just imagine it like that. It's a text.
So it is both sutta and sutra.
Yeah,
Same.
it depends.
Interchangeable.
Pali or
Got
yeah.
it. So sutra is a series of them. Sutta is one specific one.
No.
No.
There's just a different language. So there's like Pali and there's Sanskrit. Yeah.
Sorry. I thought when
Yeah.
you said poly, you meant multiple.
Mm-mm.
Got it. Okay. Yes. Okay.
So the questions to ask yourself while I'm reading this is, what does solitude mean in the context of the sutta?
Okay.
How might the sutra's emphasis on solitude be relevant to our lives today? Because remember, this is a very old text, all right? But, universal truth is truth
Regardless.
indefinitely. Yeah. So I'll start with those two and I'll go a couple more questions again. What does solitude mean within the context of this sutta? How might the sutta's emphasis on the solitude be relevant to our lives today? What challenges might arise from living a solitary life as suggested by the sutta? What challenges might arise from living a solitary life as suggested? And how might these be overcome?
Got it.
How does the sutta reconcile the ideal of solitude with the principles of compassion and interconnectedness?
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Those are the questions I want you guys to ask yourself while you're listening to this stuff. What does it mean? What does solitude mean in the context of this, what I'm reading? How might the sutta's emphasis on solitude be relevant to our lives today? What challenges might arise from living the solitary life, and how can they be overcome? How does the sutta reconcile with the ideal of solitude with principles of compassion and interconnectedness?
Got it.
Because you see, that can come up, right? Where you're like, oh, I want to be by myself, but at the same time, I want to provide compassion and interconnectedness with everybody.
Right.
So, all right. So again, I'm not hitting every part of it. I'm just going to hit some of it. This is the version that's translated from Pali by Thomasaro Bhikkhu. Bhikkhu means monk. So here we go. Renouncing violence for all living beings, harming not even a one, you would not wish for offspring, so how a companion, wander alone like a rhinoceros. For a sociable person, there are allurements. On the heels of allurement is pain. Seeking allurement drawbacks, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Seeing allurement drawbacks, Without resistance in all four directions, content with whatever you get, ending troubles with no dismay, wander alone like a rhinoceros. If you gain a mature companion, a fellow traveler, right living and wise, overcoming all dangers, go with him, gratified and mindful. If you don't gain a mature companion, a fellow traveler, right living and wise, wander alone, like a king renouncing his kingdom, like the elephants in the Matanga wilds, his herds. We praise companionship, yes, those on par or better, those be chosen as friends. If they are not to be found, live faultlessly, wander alone, like a rhinoceros. In the same way, if I were to live with another, there would be careless or abusive talk. Seeing the future danger, wander alone like a rhinoceros. As a great white elephant with massive shoulders renouncing his herd, lives in the wild wherever he wants, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Unled by others, I have knowledge arisen, wander alone like a rhinoceros. With no greed, no deceit, no thirst, no hypocrisy, delusions and blemishes blown away, with no inclinations for all the world, every world, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Avoid the evil companion, disregarding the goal, intent on the out-of-tune way. Don't take as a friend someone heedless and hankering, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Consort with one who is learned, who maintains the Dhamma, the teachings of the Buddha. A great and quick-witted friend, knowing the meanings, subdue your perplexity, then wander alone like a rhinoceros. Free from longing, finding no pleasure in the world's sport, love, or sensual bliss, abstaining from adornment, speaking the truth, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Abandoning offspring, spouse, father, mother, riches, gain, relatives, and sensual pleasures altogether, wander alone like a rhinoceros. This is bondage, a baited hook. There is a little happiness here, next to no satisfaction, all the more suffering and pain. Knowing this, circumspect, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Shattering fetters, like a fish in the water tearing a net, like a fire not coming back into what is burnt, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Eyes downcast, not foot loose, senses guarded with protected mind, not oozing, not burning with lust, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Taking off the householder's marks, the layman's clothing, like a coral tree that has shed its leaves, going forth in the ochre robe, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Showing no greed for flavors, not careless, going from house to house for alms. Alms is food that they would they would go with the bowl and say, whatever you're gonna feed me, feed me. So showing no greed for favors, not careless, going from house to house for alms, with mind not enmeshed in this family or that, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Abandoning barriers to awareness, expelling all defilements, all non-dependent, cutting aversion, allurement, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Turning your back on pleasure and pain, as earlier with sorrow and joy, attaining pure equanimity, tranquility, wander alone like a rhinoceros. With persistence aroused, for the highest goal of attainment, with the mind not smeared, not lazy in action, firm in effort, with steadfastness and strength arisen, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Not neglecting seclusion, absorption, constant living in the Dhamma, in line with the Dhamma, which is the word of the Buddha, the teachings of the Buddha, comprehending the danger, in states of becoming, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Intent of the ending of craving, and heedful learned, mindful not muddled, certain have reckoning the Dhamma, and striving wander alone like a rhinoceros. Not startled like a lion at sounds, not snared like the wind in a net, not smeared like a lotus in water, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Like a lion, forceful, strong in fang, living as a conqueror, the king of beasts, resort to a solitary dwelling, wander alone like a rhinoceros. At the right time, consorting with the release through goodwill, compassion, appreciation, equanimity, unobstructed by the world, any world, wander alone like a rhinoceros. Having let go of passion, aversion, delusion, having shattered the fetters, undisturbed at the ending of life, wander alone like a rhinoceros. People follow and associate for a motive. Friends without a motive these days are rare. They are shrewd for their own ends and impure. Wander alone like a rhinoceros.
Yeah, it's a lot to absorb.
And I cut it down like 60%.
Yeah.
I mean, look, these things, first off, these things are touches. We can only do so much in a 40-minute main topic, you know? The work has to be done. We introduce you guys to new things. We talk about things. You pick up some bullet points. You pick up some deep meanings. But then you go on your own and you do further work. You do further research. You have to go 1 pass, 2 pass, 3 pass, 4 pass. I'm doing this now. I've read this thing, 20 times. So it's like I'm doing another pass at it. I have the opportunity to be here with you guys and go over it, so it helps me to learn it again.
Right.
But, the work is a work that's done daily. No one masters anything in 1 or 2 runs.
Right.
So let's talk about a few of the things in there. All right. So the main idea here is that it's better to go it alone than to go away from what is pure within yourself and what is best for your highest good.
One more time?
It's better to go it alone than to put yourself in a position where you're going against your highest good.
Got it. Okay.
And you're compromising your standards in many ways. There's many ways to look at it. For example, like it talks about if you have a well-suited partner, right? I mentioned about the partner in there. I can go back and
towards the beginning
and talk about that. But if you don't, it's like if you have a bad partner, it's better to have no partner,
right,
than to have a bad partner.
Right.
You better to go it alone. If you have company, the company is drunkards or people who are only focused on, let's say, something that is not, maybe you're not interested in making money, and you have, all your people that you hang out with are only focused on money. Right. It's like it's better to, if your goal is to attainment, these monks here are working to go towards enlightenment. It's better to go alone than to go and hang out with people who are nowhere near the direction that you want to go.
Right.
Just because you get lonely, it's better to go it alone.
Right.
And going it alone is its own work. Having time and space for yourself is hugely important.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. Very, very much so. Gives you the opportunity to self-reflect, align with yourself, and to limit quote-unquote distractions on that level. Yeah.
Totally.
Shout out to Reza, by the way. I think Reza's going to enjoy this one. He's in general, he's been talking about, he's going through it. And this happens not only for him, but he keeps saying it's a very I feel very alone on this road. And I think the aloneness is the solitude that we're talking about here tonight.
Right. There's so many ways to look at loneliness because we're truly never alone. But the feeling of loneliness and the energy that we have and that we give to others, it can be measured.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel like when I get together with the people that are listening to this video at like Yolanda's house, for example, like that's great. That's the
Right.
energy that you'd want to
Right.
be around. You don't need to go it alone when you're there, right? But then when you go, let's say you somehow go to a birthday party at a bar or something, it may happen or whatever. You get invited somewhere,
Right.
and you end up there, and you're like, "Whoa, this is totally different," And in those cases, it's like it's better to go it alone,
Right.
right?
It's being, I think the way I'm hearing it is, at least the way that it would resonate with me, it resonates with me, is that if you are on a vibrational frequency, if you're on some wave or wavelength, whatever you like to call it, that, and you're clear you're on that wavelength, that it's better to expand that wavelength than to go into places where that wavelength is just out of harmony. There is a dissonance in that vibration. So it's this solitude is, hey, you're in that state, expand that state rather than trying to go somewhere where the vibe is completely not in tune with you.
Absolutely.
Stay in your where you're tuned at, where your highest vibration is.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Very important.
Yeah.
So one of the questions I was asking us to ask ourselves while I was reading this was, what does solitude mean in the context of the sutta? So my notes on that is, in the sutta, solitude is depicted as a state of spiritual autonomy and independence, more than just physical seclusion. Right? It's not just physical seclusion.
Right.
Right? I'm going to pause there and just talk about our journeys here. If we look back at the journeys we took, the times that we made a decision to go towards the love and light, the breakthroughs we had, the dark night of the soul, these were done alone. They weren't done alone in the spiritual world, but in the physical world, they were done alone.
Right.
It was you and you only.
Right.
You were meditating, or you had a huge catalyst come in your life that was, bonker size, and no one could go through that transformation other than you. The caterpillar
Right.
becomes the butterfly on its own.
Right.
Of course, the metaphysical help is there. I'm
Right.
not talking about your angels and your guides and all that. I'm talking about physical here. This is talking about that aspect of it.
Right.
You become the butterfly on your own. You don't take two caterpillars, don't get together and go in a cocoon together. It doesn't happen. You go through this transformation on your own. And this is what it's referring to. And if you want to make that transformation, you have to go it alone. You see, when I made the changes I needed to make because the catalysts I had in my life were huge, I had no one. I went to meditation retreats on my own. I did, you meditate on your own, right? You can do group meditation, but you're still going within yourself.
Because you're being true to your own resonance. You're being true to your own resonance. I mean, we're going to talk about this and spill the beans, but this was part of the task last week, right? Is that when you go into a neutral state of observation, the thing that occurs, the only director of your reality is you. Unequivocally, therefore, it is that moment of solitude where you're really directing at a different level, because it's always been you. It's always been you. There is nothing but you. And so doubling down, tripling down, however you want to call it, and going into that state will lead you there, because your resonance is telling you that. Your reality is telling you that. Your whatever it is, that vibrational frequency is telling you that. So the more you tap into that, the more powerful all of this stuff becomes. All of it is paradox, so I don't want to say it this way, but you really accelerate the process, therefore, of the caterpillar becoming the butterfly.
Absolutely.
It completely changes because you're being true with the resonance that you have.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, that we could remember this sutta when we have those times where we got to go it alone and understand that, like, we see what we see on social media, what we see on TV, what we see when we talk to people. It's all about, what did you do last night? Where did you go? Oh, you're at that party. You're over there. You're with this group. We have a tendency in this modern day to fill our time with something always.
And they're norms. That's the thing. It's status quo that takes you completely out of the actual vibration. Yeah.
So when you say, I'm going to go alone, I remember last week I had an open day and I was going to make plans here. I was going to make plans there. It didn't work out, right? And I ended up just being at home by myself all night. And it was wonderful, right?
Yeah.
Like I know this is not anything crazy. I do this regularly, but still, it was
Yeah.
like I read like 100 pages of a book.
Yeah.
I did a long meditation. I listened to a talk
Yeah.
on cosmogenesis, you know, and like when I went to sleep, I was like, I got so much done. But if I had just gone to coffee with a friend, it doesn't mean you don't go to coffee with a friend. But
No,
you
it
get what
doesn't.
I'm saying. If you
Yeah.
want to do the transformation, if you want to get in shape, you got to go to the gym. And
Right.
and many times you got to go to the gym alone. You're not always going to find a partner to go to the gym with, you know? It's nice, right? But it's not necessarily going to happen. And if you want to get in shape, you got to go to the gym. And if you got to go to the gym, a lot of times you're going to go alone.
It's funny. I've talked about this, not on the podcast, but I often talk about this, that oftentimes people, when they go to the gym with other people, they get really good workouts. Like they push each other,
Right.
they're this and that. And I've always been the opposite. Where when I go with a couple buddies to the gym, I don't work out as hard.
You screw around a lot more.
And I realize because I'm adapting to their vibration rather than not. When I am alone, because when you're true with yourself, you know your limits. You don't need somebody to push your own.
So
You don't
true.
need to push your own limits.
Yeah.
When I'm alone, that limit is broken significantly more. Why? And I think this is resonating with this is because of that solitude, because there's stillness in that space. And then you're really focused on breaking these limitations. You think you're going to do 12? Go up 12 and a half. Oh, you got 13. Maybe there's 13 and a half in there. Can you get to the 14th rep? Oh, I did get 14. It's that, and only you are controlling that.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing else. And so I encourage you, since we talked about even the gym, to expand this example, as Leonard is saying, into everything that you do, because you know your limitation and you know your vibration a lot more. And that solitude will make you a lot more strong, quickly make you stronger.
Right. So this represents the mind is not only is not entangled and overly attached to worldly distractions and social obligations. You have to be discerning, fifth chakra, on where you put your time. Right? That's the social obligations aspect. I know that kind of group. It's not best that I go spend a bunch of time with those people.
Right.
I can hang out with them once in a while, but that's as far as I'm going to give them. That friend, I'm only going to see so often, because I'm using my discernment to know if they're going to help me or not. And it's not about like a selfish thing.
No.
You know, and of course, you go it alone with the worldly distractions.
Yeah.
You know, when everybody, you can see it now, right? This is so many parallels. There's so many levels of the Sutra, right? Go it alone like a rhinoceros. You have to go it alone when you see everyone doing the opposite thing, right? And what I mean by that is we can take a look, at least in my case, with what happened over the past few years with these jabs, right? When everyone was getting them, when everyone was saying, I can't believe you don't have it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I went it alone,
Mm-hmm.
right? And when you go it alone, everyone thinks you're crazy. But
That's a compliment.
But think about it. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
You got to go it alone sometimes. When the world says, oh my God, Sunday mornings you do book club at 9 a.m. or whatever. What is it, 9:30?
9:30.
Yeah, 9:30 in the morning you do book club. Oh my God, Sunday mornings I like to have a coffee, go to brunch. You're crazy. And it's like, no, I'm going it alone because I need to go where I want to go.
100%.
And this is what I need to do to get there.
Follow your resonance.
Solitude in the next context is considered a tool for achieving inner peace, deeper self-understanding, and a more profound connection with the teachings of Buddha or spiritualism or whatever you want to study. It's a state where one is not dependent on others for happiness or fulfillment. Now, that's the big
That's the one.
part of it. That's the one, is that you got to go it alone because you're not dependent on anybody else for happiness
That's right.
and inner fulfillment and fulfillment, period. It's an inside job. Happiness is an inside job.
That's right.
And if we keep pushing ourselves and saying, I need to be with that person, I need to be with that, when are you going to have that time to be in solitude to find that inner peace? You got to go in to go up.
When you are in the state of joy, unequivocally it's going to come out from you. So it doesn't matter. You're connecting with that vibration. It's going to pour out from you. It's just the way it is. Yeah.
All right. So the next question was, how does the sutta provide emphasis on solitude, and how can it be relevant in our lives today? We've just been hitting it, but
Yeah.
many people live in a state of constant connectivity with social interaction. Excuse me. Whether it's through social media, professional demands, or personal relationships. The constant engagement can lead to a stress, distractions, and a loss of self-awareness. The Rhinoceros Sutra's emphasis on solitude can serve as a reminder of the importance of stepping back, disconnecting, and spending
That's right.
time in introspection. This can help us to reconnect with ourselves, prioritize our mental well-being, and maintain a balanced perspective on life.
Beautiful. I do this week. You know this. I do multiple hikes. I don't listen to music. 80% of the time I go alone. Why? Because when you quote unquote, in our language, disconnect, you actually are connected.
Yes.
It's the
You
language.
disconnect from the matrix and you connect to the higher.
Remember, language is really important here, right? It is actually when you disconnect that you connect. This is actually disconnection. It is the state of connection when you are in stillness. You are utterly connected. I always say this about Bringers of the Dawn because it says it so beautifully.
Big.
It says when you meditate, it is actually the most active that your consciousness, not the opposite. Not the opposite. When you're in stillness, everything is moving. I like to use this example, see if it resonates with you. When you are the eye of the storm, you see all the movement.
Mm-hmm.
When you're in the storm, it looks like chaos.
Right.
You see the order.
Yeah. Someone told me a long time ago that says that when I pray, I talk to God. When I meditate, God talks to me.
Beautiful.
What challenges might arise from living a solitary life, as suggested by the Sutra? How might these be overcome?
I think you brought it up, right? You brought it up. Labels, you'd be called By the way, I'm going to take a quick tangent off of this. Let's really start to drop the use of the word crazy. It is such a demeaning, such a boxed kind of a thing. But connecting it to this, one of the things immediately, what will happen? Oh my God, this person's going to think I'm crazy. Who cares? Who cares? What do you care what the other person's thinking about you? It's an illusion anyways. Enjoy the ride. Be in the solitude.
Right. So it's difficult. This could be difficult for people with big social ties.
Yeah.
If you have big social ties and social obligations, it can be difficult. But what happens is you start to peel the onion back slowly. As you change and you resonate a different way. Excuse me.
He has spiked. The tea spiked tonight. I'm just kidding.
So
Social,
yeah. So you kind of peel it back slowly. So as you change, right? It doesn't mean you don't like love your friends and your friends don't love you. You just don't do the same activities with them because you don't get the same juice out of the same
correct,
fruit as they do. Your priorities of what you think is important is different, right? Like they may like going out at night, right? But you may like meditating in the morning. So there's a conflict there. It doesn't mean you don't love them, they don't love you. And they start to see that. And you start to see that. And you start slowly not going to all the obligations. Eventually, you won't even get invited.
Right.
Right? Not because they don't want you there, but because they know you're not going to come.
It's not in your resonance.
It's not. You can also get feelings of loneliness and isolation.
Yeah.
Without external input, one might risk becoming stuck in their own viewpoints. This is another challenge, though, that when you're just by yourself and you just have solitude, you can get stuck in your own viewpoints because there's no one to provide an opposite opinion. So that's why it's important to have balance in doing it.
Correct. That is one of the dangers, actually, about social media is there are these places where the reverberation just keeps going and going. Echo chamber that goes back and back and back and back. And all of a sudden, you are stuck in this very narrow lane of reality that does not allow for anything outside of it. It's my way is the right way, period.
Right. So striking a balance is essential in those situations. And solitude should not lead to complete isolation.
Yeah.
One should create periods of solitude for self-reflection and spiritual practice. Communication and meaningful connections with others remains important. The key lies in not becoming overly dependent or attached to these interactions. That's all.
I remember old, I forgot his name, Indian philosopher, and he said, you are either doing or you're being. And he goes, it is a balanced state between that. So he used the old song. He says, you want to be, do, be, do, be, do. And those moments of be is those moments of solitude. at some point the doobie becomes one and the same. You will begin to merge it. You will begin
Right
to
after you smoke a doobie.
good one. Good one. Uh,
Just kidding.
you begin to blur those lines where you are quote unquote meditating eyes wide open in every moment.
Right.
And that is that moment of pure epiphany where everything literally becomes one and the same.
Beautiful.
Yeah, thank you.
So the sutra reconciles the ideals of solitude with the Buddhist principles of compassion and interconnectedness. So that's important, right? And when it just naturally gets to that part of the conversation.
Yeah.
The sutra's advocacy for solitude might seem odd with the principles of compassion and interconnectedness, which involve others. However, these ideas can coexist harmoniously. The solitude advocated in the sutta allows for deep self-awareness and understanding, which can then fuel greater compassion towards others. By understanding our minds and reducing our attachments
That's right.
and aversions, we can connect with others in a more mindful and compassionate manner. Regarding interconnectedness, recognizing that we are part of a larger whole does not necessitate constant social interaction.
Beautiful.
Instead, it calls for the understanding of our actions' impact on the world and vice versa, which can be more deeply understood in moments of solitude.
Awesome.
So good, right?
Paradoxical. Paradox always will hold the possibility. Always. As you become more and more and more in the state of solitude, you actually become completely interconnected. There,
Because your cup is empty.
yeah,
You have no form.
there is nothing else
You're-
there. You literally, you go into that state and you realize I am everything anyway. So therefore, it is never alone. You are never alone. But it is through that you can get there. It's always in paradox. Always in paradox. Beautiful.
So there it is. That is our cup. My cup is full.
I want to make a couple more points. This is a really good thing for us to go through. And I think on a practice level, you begin, see, one of the things that you were talking about on the societal level, the more true that
I
you
love how
become,
Amir's not ready to drop this.
yeah,
Great.
the more true that you are to yourself, when you're in these moments of solitude, when you are truly resonating with your own vibration, you begin to open up pathways. If Leonard's opening up a pathway that Leonard has not traveled, if Amir is going down a road that he's not traveled before, right? You begin to create waypoints that you will begin to again start to use. But number two, because everything is interconnected, you as a maverick or a pathfinder, as you are the maverick, you are creating roads and routes into consciousness. Like they call them bushwhackers, right? That they take the machetes and they go through the forests, they go through all of that. You're literally creating a pathway of consciousness to travel. And as you do, just like people who go on hikes, how do hikes become hikes? Somebody goes down that path, 5 more people go, and then the path becomes really, really clear. And consciousness works exactly the same way. As you hold that space, as you go into that, you will also inspire others to begin to follow that path. So in fact, and I will say witness to this, I'm very, very quiet about what I do. Friends that I've known for years and years and years, childhood friends, I don't necessarily have this conversation with them per se. However, as this has progressed, they are naturally starting to, because they feel it. Go, whatever that is, I want that. Like that community you talk about when we're together and you're just in that state, the resonance is there, right? You don't need to be in solitude anymore. You're with a group and it's still there. You will begin to create that. And that is how the world changes. That is how we become more and more interconnected. Shine the light and it will go everywhere. It's irresistible. We are like the mosquitoes that are attracted to the light. I had to say that.
Mm-hmm.
I love this. It's
points.
very cool. Who is this by?
The Buddha.
Himself.
Of course.
The man, the myth, the legend, huh?
Yep.
Very cool. That was awesome. Very, very cool. Thank you.
Thank you.
Done. Well done. I like it.
All right. Well, thank you for listening. Shall we head to what's brewing?
We got a lot this week.
So I'll do mine first since you have a bunch.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Yours is really interesting.
Google has taken a bold step by announcing a global ban on all independent media from its search results. It's funny.
I love it. Leonard took a giant breath in on that one. This one's been bothering you a little, yeah.
I mean, this week has been a week, man.
Yeah.
Google has taken a bold step in announcing a global ban on all independent media from the search results. Hear me on that. Hear that again, please. Google has taken a bold step in announcing a global ban
That's so wild.
ban on independent media from search results. I mean, what else do you want?
Yeah.
Where do people go for information?
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah. Well, this just gives you more onus not to go to Google.
This move, made in collaboration with global entities like the UN and the WHO,
Right, of course.
has sent shockwaves through the digital community. We wish. Probably very few people even know this.
Yeah.
LaToya Drake, spearheading Google's News Lab,
Yeah.
underscores this partnership, introducing what they term as fact-check tools.
Did you say fascism? Oh, I mean fact. Oh, okay. Fact check rules. Let us tell you.
Tools. They're definitely tools.
But rules is even better.
Delving deeper, Swiss developer Dejan Georgiev has spotlighted this tool, suggesting it's designed to squash dissent on any topic Google chooses.
Perfect. Yeah. That's exactly what it is.
And then there's Google's Data Commons, a vast database linking data from countless open sources, launched in 2018. It essentially focused on fact-checking data. With such significant move from Google, one has to ponder, is it genuinely about fact-checking or more profound attempt to control the narrative? I mean, I don't have to ponder jack,
Yeah.
in my opinion,
Yeah.
but
Go.
I mean, this is what's happening, guys. If people know this,
Yeah.
then they can go to DuckDuckGo.
That's right.
They can go to the Brave browser. You know, I use DuckDuckGo pretty often.
DuckDuckGo is a search engine if you don't know.
So instead of going to google.com, you go to duckduckgo.com
Mhm.
and you search there. As a matter of fact, when it's time for us to do these news pieces, I look for independent media.
Yeah.
I look for independent. I mean, you already know what's going on in regular media.
Here's the beauty of all of this stuff. They cause their own demise, right? The fragmentation is so fragmented that it innately collapses in on itself. So what happens when Google does this, right? What do you think is going to happen? It's going to open new routes for people to go. Would you have ever mentioned DuckDuckGo on this if Google hadn't done this?
No, of course.
There you go. So it literally creates its own demise.
For those who have ears to hear and eyes to see, they will make their moves elsewhere. I've been using DuckDuckGo for 2 years.
100%. So
you know,
but their own move is bringing about more awareness of it.
yes.
It will happen. Look at mainstream media.
You know what it is? It's where it's tough to swallow. Is that like, and I guess it's obviously there's an answer for this, right?
Yeah.
But where it becomes difficult at first is like your friends and your family who only go to Google.
Yeah.
And when you say something to them about stuff, they come back and send you 3 things that they found on Google to discredit what you said.
It's okay.
And you're like, oh, now the chances of them even getting proper information is gone, extra out. And of course, look, those people don't want to hear the answer. That's why
right.
they do that. And that's the answer to that whole thing.
That's right.
But, it's disheartening. We all love our fellow comrades here, and we want them to wake up. And, more censorship, just goes against all that we believe to be true and free.
But remember, it is also an unequivocal sign that the quote unquote, and it's not a collapse, it's a rebirth. That the collapse is very, very much on, because they
wouldn't have to do it otherwise.
Yeah,
they wouldn't have to do it.
They are so desperate to control the narrative that they're trying to do, and you cannot.
And right when all this stuff's happened, right around the Hawaii situation.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know about the Hawaii situation, that's a whole nother.
Yeah.
That's a rabbit hole. That's deep.
Yes.
Deep rabbit hole. The whole Hawaii situation. So this comes out right around Hawaii. The whole Hawaii situation. It's like we need to do a stop right now.
That's right. Yeah.
Anyway, that's my piece.
That's absolutely right.
That's my piece.
Well, let's talk about Hawaii. Hawaii, as Maui had these unbelievable fires, and truly unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, truly in the sense of unbelievable, because it's not believable, that occurred. These fires, if you haven't seen it, go look at the path of destruction. Go look at the devastation, and you will also notice something really, really unique with it, in that there are all of a sudden certain homes or structures that are completely untouched. Go look at some of the plans that they had for Hawaii. I just encourage you, specifically on Maui, what they wanted to do it. Part of it was 15-minute cities. Go find out what those are if you don't know. I'm not going to expand. We have a lot of news to discuss. Go find out what was going on in Hawaii. Some of the quote unquote activities that were going on in Hawaii. Some of the things that people began to see months ago in Hawaii, in the sky. I'm just telling you this so that you can go figure it out. Two little.
I'm gonna drop some things about Hawaii too.
Okay, two little
talk
things.
about the cop.
No,
Okay.
two things that have come out. The governor of Hawaii has come out and says, "Well, now that this has happened, what we're able to do is that the state is able to acquire land that has been ravaged by the wildfire." Oh, yeah. Well, now that it burned down,
So that land
Well, why?
was held by locals that did not want to sell that land to developers and to people like that.
near eons.
They don't want to sell it, and now look
Yeah.
what happened. And Hawaii Governor Josh Green issued an executive order intended to spur housing construction in the state of the emergency proclamation relating to housing. Interesting. Earlier this month, he did this, as the order was titled "Suspend State and County Laws Focusing on Land Use and Historic Preservation."
What just happened?
It just happened a couple weeks before.
Coincidence.
A couple weeks before the so-called fire, he signed something that said, for emergency, it's okay. We can do whatever we want with the land. No need to.
Just go see what stocks he's buying and selling too.
And I have a list of stuff about Hawaii. Shall we go? I didn't know.
Is his nephew one of the biggest general contractors too?
The cop who is the person who they've brought to do to oversee this whole thing in Hawaii is the same guy that oversaw the Vegas massacre shooting.
Perfect.
Yeah.
It's just funny, guys. It's honestly just so funny at some point. It's so blatantly, and this is the beauty about the internet, is you can't stop it. There's
right.
no way 15 years ago we would have seen this
Here's
stuff.
some stuff people are saying. Locals in Maui were refusing to sell their land to the elites. Part of the island mainly destroyed by the fires was prime area right next to the lavish mega mansions. Now a lot of those locals are forced to sell their land and many have tragically died in flames. Oprah Winfrey has a luxury mansion in Maui, which was completely fine.
Totally.
Jeff Bezos has a luxury mansion in Maui, which was completely fine.
Of course.
Lady Gaga has a luxurious mansion in Hawaii, in Maui, and guess what? It was fine. Bill Gates, Morgan Freeman, Will Smith, Julia Roberts. How did the fire know which mansions to avoid?
Or just certain structures. Just certain structures in the middle of the fire. By the way, I'm going to point this out because I talked about this, just it literally missing, quote unquote, just missing certain structures. Go look at the wildfires. I believe it was 2020. In particular, there was a couple years that this occurred in Central and Northern California. The exact patterns that you see in Maui were in Central California. And there's no look, imagine this. Let me ask you a question. If there was a wildfire in nature and all of a sudden 7 trees in the middle of the wildfire just didn't burn, it's a perfect square, would that not be absolutely ludicrous to see? So how does this occur with this?
Why were there no emergency systems set off? Why did it take so long for the disaster relief officials to show up? Why is there so much red tape in delivering goods to people in need? Why does FEMA reject aid by locals?
Can I add to this real quick? Because this is part of it. The estimated cost of the rebuilding in Maui is $5.6 billion. The President of the United States put forth an assistance package for Maui that is intertwined with support for Ukraine. As somebody, talk about false duality. as somebody in Congress, you come out and you vote against this, and everyone's going to say, you didn't give support to Maui? How dare you? Do you know how much the support? 5.6 billion it's going to cost to rebuild Maui. Do you know what, in just this package, how much relief would go, how much support would go to Ukraine? $115 billion. 30 times the amount.
And each resident of Hawaii had damage done to their place got $700.
Yes. That's we're good to go.
Here we go. Keep going. Why are there hundreds of bodies being counted by civilians but not being reported by the news? Why were there melted cars and buildings but fully intact standing trees and umbrellas? Why were there melted cars? You know what percentage amount of heat it takes to melt aluminum? Why were there melted cars and buildings but fully intact standing trees and umbrellas? Why are the government officials only talking about rebuild and not offering solutions for immediate relief to our families when there's still people missing? Why did we have a hurricane winds when our nearest hurricane was 500 miles south of our island? Why did we have hurricanes 800 miles away, wind, but no rain on specific spots of Maui, let alone no clue how it started? Why is no one really talking about the other multiple fires started at the same exact time across multiple islands?
That's right.
Why does no one ever question the fire's origin, let alone similarities in other fires in the past? Why does the UN and state officials want to turn Lahaina into a smart city according to the 2030 agenda plans?
That's right.
What are direct, and here's the big one, what are direct energy, WEAPONS?
That's right.
What are direct energy, WEAPONS? What are direct energy, WEAPONS? And what do they do to land, objects, and buildings? You start to look into that. Answers come. Why does BlackRock and Vanguard own shares in a company called Alexander and Baldwin, who own Maui as far as land mass per capita? Why do we only accept the narrative of the climate change as the only reason for these things? Why are so...
How would climate change even cause that? Sorry, I have to interrupt you. Remember a couple weeks ago, there was I think I brought this up on What's Brewing. A apartment building in Hollywood caught on fire. And the people were like, yep, climate change. It's so ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Question everything. I think what Leonard is trying to give off here. Question everything. Question. The narrative is propaganda. Always, unequivocally. Question us. Question the two of us sitting here. Go question everything that we say. We're not trying to tell you the truth. We're just trying to tell you to question these things. This is the whole point of What's Brewing.
Yeah,
it's a lot.
It's a really deep hole, and it's really troubling. But truth. We're here to learn the truth.
On the weather-controlled manipulative things that are going on. If you don't know, go research HAARP. 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 HAARP is something that is quite powerful. All right. Well, that's Hawaii. Hawaii's still beautiful. Hawaii's still amazing. I got two other things. USA Today puts out a article, quote unquote, more young Americans are dying, and it's not COVID. Why aren't we searching for the answers? Well, we are, and it is very, very much COVID. Two doctors, Dr. Pierre Corey and Mary Beth Pfeiffer, quote unquote, week in, week out, this unnatural loss of life is on the scale of a war or terrorist event. But the question remains, what explains what explains this ongoing wave of excess deaths?
You want me to tell you?
Leave it there. We've talked about this, but this is, it's occurring, and it's a big deal. This excess death is a huge deal. Hearing young people have heart disease. Are you kidding me?
A whole article piece for next week on that. Heart
disease? A 9-year-old who has a heart attack? When did you ever hear that? Did you ever hear that before? Before you get protective and defensive over that, you ever hear about 14-year-olds having heart attacks? How about 40-year-olds even having heart attacks? Much less a 14-year-old? Well, what caused this?
All right, what else you got?
This is a good one. This is an awesome one. Amazing. Russia, which I'm not defending, but there's been some very interesting percolations in Russia for about 8 years now. Officially, Russia puts this into print. They released, I believe that they even tweeted this, but I think the tweet in America was deleted. They have 5 groups that they've put together in a flow chart. And I'll see if I can even share this. Maybe we can put a link to this in the description here. I'll start with this is a flow chart, so it goes. So there's really not a starting point. Ideologues create these things. They specifically call out George Soros and the Clintons as 2 of the groups. The ideologues bring the message, goes to group 2. All of the various alphabet agencies in the US. Then that moves into the sponsors, which are different NGO or nonprofit or non-governmental organizations. The NGOs pass it down into executors. The executors then relay the message to corporations. As the corporations do that, the corporations go back to the ideologues and they say, here's what we need from you. And the cycle continues. They have called out Pfizer. They have called out all the pharmaceuticals. They've called out all of the people by name that are collaborating internationally, the corporations, the NGOs, the alphabet agencies, and all of the intermediaries between this. This is monumental, in my opinion, that one of the bigger countries in the world is out and out putting this out to its people and saying, you want to know how the world is run? Here you go. That's a huge step. Huge. I'm so excited that this is put out.
Huge.
Huge. We're expecting China to do this as well. It's so funny. How can you not laugh at that? All the presidents are hilarious. It's such a funny show. But you feel where I'm coming from on this? That the official country has put out the cycle of what Leonard and I are talking about weekly on What's Brewing. This is now put out. It's so awesome to see. It's amazing. Bravo. Bravo, bravo, bravo.
All right. What do you got? You got more?
That's it. No. For now, that's it. I think we've overburdened you with with news.
We want people to sleep tonight. All right. Next, exercise. Spill the beans. Bean spilling. And let's recap, please.
Yes. Last week, we did a practice for you that we said, as you go through things, move into a state of neutral observation. And as you do that, you begin to start to move into the vibration of, first of all, you become very, very aware and in alignment with where you are now. But where I wanted you to really push it into is to see that right at that moment, as you are the neutral observer, you are also the creator. There is no observation without you being there. And everything, therefore, that is observed is unequivocally your creation. How was it for you?
So I got that. And then when we talked further after the last podcast, we ended up spending about a half hour talking on our own. which would have been nice to record, but it is what it is. It was after everything was taken down, after we left the jungle or the forest. But we talked about confining infinite possibilities by saying it's supposed to be like this, by removing the neutral observer.
Correct.
And saying this is what it's supposed to be, we limit what can come.
Correct. Possibilities die.
So I was taking Live out, my son, to get a croissant and a coffee. He has the coffee, I have the croissant, of course. Just kidding. And
Double shot espresso, right?
you know how he likes it.
Oh yeah.
No foam. So so we go. I tell him there's a great place. It's Friday at 6:00, and at Friday at 6:00 we get up to this. We roll up to the place and it's closed. At Friday at 6:00, the place that has dinner, lunch, breakfast, the whole 9 yards is closed. You know, so my first reaction is like, ready to blow my lid here. I've been talking about it with him for 20 minutes, the whole ride over there. He's excited. He's ready to do this. I'm ready to do this. We roll up the traffic. It's Friday at 6:00. Traffic is not good. We finally get there and it's closed. And I say, I'm going to be the neutral observer. And I'm going to let the possibilities show me what they can provide. I get on my phone. I do this. I do that. I end up going to a different restaurant. And this restaurant was magnificent. It was magnificent. It was way better than I could have ever imagined.
Awesome.
It was so, and not only that, the neighborhood it was in was magnificent. The whole thing was out of a fairy tale.
Beautiful.
And I was like, all right, that's that.
When you remove the attachment
So
to
thank
it.
you.
Thank you. That's awesome. When you remove the attachment to it, you literally then you create space, and as you are therefore neutral, you are non-reactive to anything. And remember this, anytime you are reactive, particularly with another human being, anybody, when you are reacting to their action, you are a slave to their vibration. Do you want to be that, or would you rather be a creator? This is really, and when you move into neutral observation, as you did, you open your space to possibilities, and then you go, damn, look what I created. Not on an egotistical level, not like,
I think look what the universe created is how I took it.
Exactly.
Look what the universe created. But yes, I'm the co-creator with it.
100%, you are the universe.
But I'm saying it's not an egotistical thing.
No,
Like,
it's
look what
not
I made. It's like, look what the universe provided me.
Yeah, you're in a state of awe and beauty and gratitude simultaneously.
I was, and it was incredible, and we had such a good time, and it was so much better than the previous place.
Beautiful. I love that.
But I was
awesome.
conscious, and I made the decisions to be that way through that, which was great. And thank you for that exercise.
Yeah, thank you. That's amazing. We give a little assist to Live on that one too. Co-creator.
You got to spill the beans now.
I had a really I'm gonna talk not about a specific example, but I want to talk about the experience on this. And I actually texted you one time.
With
I was like,
point.
neutral observation.
Yeah. Neutral observer or whatever, exclamation point. And I was like, yes.
Yes. I'm all excited.
It's like 11
yes.
o'clock at night. You know, he's like, he sends me a message, neutral observer. I'm like, yes. Yes, sir.
It was really cool for me. A very unexpected thing occurred. That every time I did this, and I'm almost like getting into the state now, I would get giddy. Like I would just start to like laugh. And it was so cool. Like I didn't realize it the first few times. And then I'm like, wait a minute. I'm immediately dipping into like a childlike state. And then it like dawned on me. I was like, oh my God, when you release, there is nothing but joy, right? Like there is this amount of play.
Gone.
Yeah. There's this play that when you were saying like you go into possibility is play, right? The reason that kids, I love this example. The reason that kids, and it's an ongoing joke, right? On, their birthday or Christmas or some event, whatever, they get gifts. Like the 3-year-old that gets a gift, like they get Legos. Oh, I shouldn't use Legos. Legos is not such a great example. They get a coloring book that has the shapes already, and then they'll go and play with the box, right? And why do they play with the box as opposed to the toy? The toy that's like a fire hydrant, let's say, right? The reason they go to the box is because they can use imagination with the box. The box can become a fort. It can become a car. It can become an airplane. It can become a house because it's non-limited. And so that play is really important. So as I started to do this in the neutral observer state, what was really, really cool is I innately was going into joy and play. I was literally giggling when I was going into there. And I realized, how cool is this? I am going into space and possibility, and then there's play. There's immediately joy.
Yeah. Something to remember. It's super important because life shoots stuff at you and you get upset and you're, why is this happening? Why is that happening? And it's like, if you change your perspective on it,
Immediate, yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
like Wayne Dyer said, right? When you change the way you look at things, the way things look change.
Exactly. So this was really cool for me because the practice opened up a new dimension for me that I was not expecting. And it was joy, a state of play and joy that is so cool. Like you probably even felt it when I sent you that text, that I was so overly joyous. Like, I was like a kid. I don't know if you felt it through the text, but
it seemed like
it was like that. So
the way I pictured you were like this, neutral observer, haha.
Yeah.
Like that's how I got the message.
Yeah. I was excited.
We got him.
It's awesome. Well, what do we got this week?
So this week, the exercise is going to be, think about the way that you might incorporate the teachings of the Rhinoceros Sutra and Solitude in your daily life. Spend some time alone this week. Engage in a silent activity like walking alone or choosing your solitude over people-pleasing.
Love it.
Or a scenario where you went it alone, and after the dust settles, journal and visit with yourself to see how you feel that what you did was right for you.
Beautiful.
So reflect on it too. So you kind of do this spill the beans thing. I mean, you guys should be reflecting like we reflect on it as well. That's how we grow and learn.
I want to be really clear with what Leonard said. It does not mean be alone and go put on Netflix and watch Netflix for 6 hours because you don't want to be around people.
No.
That has nothing to do with this.
No, only Amazon Prime because they're a sponsor. No, I'm just kidding.
This week's sponsor. By the way, our house in Maui didn't get touched either because Amazon's sponsoring us. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I just want to be really clear. This does not mean that you're not going to a party because you don't feel like socializing. It's not about that. It is about intentfully, correct me if I'm wrong, going into a state where you are purely focused on your inner vibration and then reflecting back on that state.
Right.
Yeah.
One of the ones that is good that I do every so often is go for a walk alone. It's an easy one to do. It's really nice. It's a time alone with yourself that's so beautiful, out in nature. You can come walk over here in this forest. We'll give you directions. It's really nice. A walk alone is a great way to do this.
Completely agree. I go almost every Saturday morning on a hike, completely alone. Again, don't listen to music. Turn your phone off. Just be. Look at the trees. Look at the flowers. Look at the clouds. Look at the sun. Hear the birds.
Be present.
Wonderful. It's a joyous and beautiful life that we have chosen. I love it. All right.
Amir's going. We got him going, guys.
Yeah, it's good, man. It's fun.
Yeah, it's nice. Thank you so much for being here with us. We're grateful for you and to you. We really love you. We're really great. You make this so fun for us. So please please subscribe, please comment. I know I wasn't pushing the comment thing today. I give you guys a week off, but please make a comment anyway.
Share this with people. Share the light. The light is supposed to be shared. We're all moving through this together. Let's move. Let's joy. Let's be joyous. Let's dance through all of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to the Conscious Cup podcast. May all be well. May all be happy. Thank you.
Love you. Bye.